Gunna may have flawlessly executed one of the greatest comebacks in the history of comebacks. Like, greater than the Cleveland Cavaliers did to the Warriors when they came back from a 3-1 deficit in 2016. Or what about the Patriots when they came back from a 28-3 deficit to the Falcons in Super Bowl 51 in 2017? Remember that? All right, I think you get the picture. Regardless of how you feel about Gunna and his artistry, things didn't always look this bright. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how he went from a promising rapper to hip-hop's biggest villain, and he is currently one of the highest and most anticipated hip-hop artists out in today's day and age. By the way, guys, my name is Uche, and I make videos like this every single week, or at least I'm planning to. So if you like what you see, hit that like button. If you want to see me grow, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into this. Okay. Let's talk about Sergio Kitchens, better known as Gunna. Now, before we do a bit of a timeline going from previous years until present day, let's start with this new album, The Last Wun, which dropped August 8, 2025. It's a 25-song project, his last album on the YSL label. Say whatever you want, guys, about Gunna. I think he makes amazing trap, melodic rap music. His flows are always consistent. And one of the biggest things I like about Gunna is he doesn't need features. I've been saying this for a long time, that the fact that he's able to create melody at such a high level enables him to really be on his own song featuring himself, right? He can do the hook, he can do the verses, and he can switch up the flows. He can really do a lot of different things. And I felt like on songs like Many Nights, he was able to give you, them heartfelt bars about, how hard it's been. He can also get arrogant and talk his shit like he did on Just Say That. He also proved that he could feature international artists, specifically Nigerian artists like Burna Boy, Wizkid, and Asake. At the end of the day, I do think he did his thing on this album, but you guys, please let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on this new Gunna project? Are you feeling it? Do you think he could have done better? Let me know. But first, we gotta cover the Underdog era for Gunna. Mr. Sergio Kitchens. Gunna, what a name. But anyway, man, he put in a lot of work during the 2016 to 2018 era, dropping his Drip or Drown album / EP. He dropped 3 drip season mixtapes. And let's start with the first one. In October 14, 2016, Gunna actually dropped his debut mixtape called Drip Season. That was a really cool introduction that Gunna gave to the hip hop game. He had songs like Rockstar Status, Caught Me a Form featuring Young Thug, that really was able to show his versatility as a rapper, as a creator, coming up under Young Thug in that YSL signature melodic style that these guys had coming out of Atlanta, right? And then you fast forward, he dropped his Drip Season 2 album, or mixtape if you want to call it that, on May 11, 2017, which had songs like Japan, YSL featuring Playboy Cardi. Gunna was really stacking up mixtapes, right? Really putting in that work early on. I don't think he was getting any airplay in terms of radio. None of that was happening. This was all grinded from the southern area of rap, whether we're talking Atlanta, and then trickling into the other areas of the hip hop streets, if you will. And then on November 30th, 2017, he dropped his Drip or Drown EP, which was a 7-song project. It had probably the best song on that project called Drip or Drown, which kind of set the tone for his Drip Season or Drip or Drown era. Man, I feel like I've said drip so far about 100 times. I'm starting to get confused. Anyway, and then we get to the last project in his Drip Season trilogy, if you will, called Drip Season 3, which came out February 2nd, 2018. And that had songs like Top Off and OK. And I could arguably say, guys, that this was easily his best Drip Season project. Top Off alone was viral. I think he did like a Colors in studio performance, which went viral. He was wearing like that gray soccer jersey. This was the pudgy era of Gunna. And then of course he had the song, like I said, OK with Lil Baby and Young Thug, which I thought was super dope. Very catchy. And so when you talk about the Gunna era, we can't tell the story without understanding that he had been stacking mixtape upon mixtape back to back, really cementing himself as the drip god. And of course, throughout his music, he had the Young Thug cosign, which I think goes without saying. Obviously he was signed to YSL. He was able to really have Thug put him under his wing, show him the ropes, give him that cosign to the masses, because at the time, Young Thug was a huge bubbling star, right? He had just dropped, I believe, his highly anticipated project called Jeffrey, which saw him wearing a dress. I'm never gonna get over that album cover, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyway, then you fast forward to the synergy that he showed with Lil Baby. I think we have to really highlight that, because while Young Thug was one of his frequent collaborators, I'd say number 2 was easily Lil Baby. And that was pretty apparent on the song that they dropped in April 16, 2018 called Sold Out Dates, which to me was probably their most catchiest collaborative song that they dropped together prior to dropping their explosively successful collab project called Drip Harder, which has songs like the title track, if you will, called Drip Too Hard. Man, that album really did a lot of numbers. I think it actually sold 130,000 album equivalent units first week sales. Yeah, man, shout out to Gunna, because again, he was able to do a lot more in the future. Now, obviously, building off of the success from the early mixtapes, it's pretty clear that Gunna was able to find his stride with his debut album called Drip or Drown 2, which came out February 22nd, 2019, and it had popular songs like One Call, Speed It Up, and also Three-Headed Snake, featuring Young Thug and Playboi Carti. And it saw him actually having a lot of album success with this. He scored a number 3 album on the Billboard 200 charts, and the album actually sold 90,000 album equivalent units first week, which is pretty impressive for Gunna. Next, he scored his first number 1 album with the release of Wanna, which came out on May 22nd, 2020, which featured popular songs like Skybox, Wanna, Dollars on My Head, featuring Young Thug, and it became his first solo album to debut at the top of the Billboard 200 charts, moving 111,000 album equivalent units in the first week, which is huge for Gunna, as you guys can see, continuing to build momentum, collaborating with the same guys he's been collaborating with, and the success seemed to really pay off with that Wanna project. Next, we gotta talk about what he was able to do collaborating with Internet Money on the song called Lemonade, featuring Nav and Don Toliver. That was a huge song because it really propelled Gunna into the mainstream with a hit record that was played everywhere. We're talking social media, radio, it was in commercials, movies. That song Lemonade really made an impact for Gunna. So shout out to him. And of course, he did a lot more music with his YSL collective, and they dominated the charts with their collective album called Slime Language 2, which had the song Ski on that project. Also, the DS Forever and Pushin' P phenomena was real, guys. I know you remember that. Gunna released DS Forever project on January 7th, 2022, which has songs like Pushin' P featuring Young Thug and Future. It also has songs like Living Wild, You and Me with Chloe Bailey, and a slew of other songs. And arguably my favorite album in his collective, pre some of the more recent music that he's made. But on this project, Private Island is one of my top songs. Oh man, what a record, what an intro. You know, sneakily, Gunna makes amazing intros. That's something that I've been noticing on his project. One of the better songs on the albums, but I digress. DS Forever was a really huge album for Gunna. Not only was it a number 1 album, did it sell 150,000 album unit equivalent sales, did it beat a lot of other albums out that were in his way, but it also saw him beat out The Weeknd, of all people, in his Dawn FM album. You know, that was a huge deal at that time. People were like, how the hell is this even possible? Who the hell is Gunna to be beating The Weeknd? Like, what the hell is going on? But that should tell you everything you need to know about the Pushin' P phenomenon that really overtook culture. White people, black people, red people, green people, yellow people. Everybody was pushing P. And half the people that was pushing P didn't even know what the hell that meant. Shoot, I still kind of don't even know what it means, but it sounds cool, don't it? That's the Gunna effect. No glazing, just calling a spade a spade. And so with that being said, we also saw people like Kim Kardashian putting up weird captions talking about beach party, but capitalizing the P. We also saw companies like IHOP tweeting out saying that they're always pushing pancakes with like capital P's. Like everybody wanted to be a part of this Pushin' P wave, and it was extremely evident that Pushin' P was one of Gunna's crown achievements and highlights of his career. All right, unfortunately, we gotta talk about the YSL RICO case because Gunna was involved. And we all know that he, along with 26 other people, were indicted in the YSL RICO trial in May of 2022, and he ended up turning himself in that same month because he was wanted, subpoenaed. He was part of the indictment, picked up with Young Thug, guns, drugs in the car. They told him, come on. And he pulled up to the court and did what he had to do. But we'll fast forward because ultimately Gunna was able to take an Alford plea, which I'll be honest with you guys, it's clear as day that when it comes to hip hop and telling and ratting and snitching, whatever word you want to use it, there's this scarlet letter that gets put on rappers, specifically street rappers who are a part of any type of cooperation with law enforcement. And with Gunna entering in that plea, that pretty much made him public enemy #1 of hip hop at that time. And let's not forget, there was that damn video. That damn court video where they caught him saying, "Yes, ma'am." Oh my God. Listen, isn't it a thing where like over the years where they say a picture is worth 1,000 words? Isn't that a thing, guys? Well, what the hell do you think a video is worth? That gotta be worth like 1 million, maybe 1 billion words. I don't know. It damn sure ain't no damn 1,000. And so I'll be honest with you guys. I think that video was really what changed the narrative about Gunna, because there've been other rappers who've taken Alford pleas. I believe T.I., he entered in an Alford plea as well. Over the years, he's been able to maintain his street cred. Now, he did get called out more recently by Boosie and some other people for being a snitch, which he vehemently denies. Again, I ain't got nothing to do with that. That's for the street people. But I remember Gunna's lawyer was very adamant that Gunna did not snitch. It was an Alford plea. There's a difference. I don't care. It's none of my business, guys. I'm just reporting the news. But that video really effed him up. But he was able to get out of jail eventually in December of 2022. And he was able to kind of regain a little bit of normalcy. But that was then. At that time, it was a crucial moment because Gunna really had to show and prove. And boy, did he. Now, one of the most, I'd say, obvious things about Gunna that has been different over the years is his physical transformation, right? That is impressive, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. He came out, he looked fit. He really dedicated himself to his fitness journey, which I think a lot of people were surprised, especially because he was alone now. He was still part of YSL from a record label standpoint, but he's no longer standing next to none of the homies from before. We fast forward, June 16, 2023, he drops A Gift and a Curse, which was a huge success. I mean, not only did it have hits like You Mean, Back to the Moon, it was able to see a lot of Billboard success. I think it sold 85,000 album sale equivalent units. It really made people say, wait a second, Gunna didn't lose any real momentum. He's still him. And so I think it's interesting that we got to note that that album didn't have any features. I thought that was a real good artistic choice for him to really stand 10 toes firm on himself, rely on his own artistry, get vulnerable. And also a lot of people said he wasn't spitting on that album. I think y'all need to go back and listen to some of these records, man. Like Gunna really poured his heart and soul into that project. And it's no coincidence that he was able to parlay that into his next project called One of One, which came out May 10th, 2024. I thought that was a really strong album. It sold 91,000 album units. It had songs like One of One, What's Happening, Proud of Them featuring Offset, Clear the Rain featuring Leon Bridges, and it probably had my favorite song on the album called On One Tonight. So Gunna was really cooking, and as you can see, there's really no drop off in terms of demand at all. He's still one of them ones. And like that, we arrive back to present day with Gunna's latest project, The Last Wun, which released August 8th, 2025. And my, I think when the dust has settled, which is currently, it's as clear as day that Gunna is a premier rapper in hip hop. He's been able to stand his ground, 10 toes firm. He's been able to make hits without features to show that people are still interested in Gunna. There was no real drop off post YSL RICO trial. It don't matter how much smut Young Thug, Lil Baby, and the affiliates put on his name. Gunna has been able to show with this new project, collaborating with Burna Boy, Wizkid, Offset, Ashake, and his homeboy Nietzsche, who needs to get a shout out because he's probably the only person who's been on Gunna's team since day one who didn't switch up on him as far as artists are concerned. He's been able to show that he is a dominant force that cannot be denied. I think there was once the narrative about Gunna that he was a mumble rapper. People didn't understand what he was saying, thought he was too repetitive. What does he really have to offer as far as talking about about drip and how fly he is and how many girls he's smashing and, you know, how much drugs he's taking and things of that nature. But I will say, objectively speaking, I do feel like Gunna has shown enough throughout the years, pre and post YSL RICO trial, that his discography is strong. He's a hit maker. He's able to stand alone, melodically craft songs by himself. He's able to feature on his own songs, and he's been able to show that he's him. He's been him all along. We're gonna see, man. The reports are saying that the album is gonna sell 90,000 units, but there's some speculation that it could go over 100. Obviously, by the time this video comes out, that information is probably gonna be out. So I hope he sells over 100, man, because I'm rooting for Gunna. I really am. Gunna has been one of the guys that I've been paying attention to for a long time, and I'm happy to see that he's getting his flowers, because at the end of the day, he's shown enough, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Are you shocked that Gunna has become a premier hip-hop act? Or have you been with Gunna all through this adversity this entire time? Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Salute to everybody who's been engaging with me on my previous videos and supporting the channel. It really, really means a lot. Again, my name is Uche, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.